Good evening and welcome to the Press Box. My name is Melissa Ponzio, and for the next 30 minutes I'll be your host. Joining me, Reynolds and Marcks. How you guys doing?
Pretty good.
We're doing good.
Good. Well, for you outside there, want to call in? We are live. The number here is 873-6713, and let's start things off with college basketball. The leagues are getting ready for the conference and NCAA tournaments. Let's talk.
Right. This is a really important time of the year because some of the teams are wanting to really position themselves for top seeds in their conference tournaments and also for the big dance late in March. And right away, I've started even making my own brackets right now, just playing around with it a little bit, just wondering how that's going to turn out. But still, there's a few things to be decided here.
So I think some of the teams probably, whether they get invited to the 64-team field or not, will be determined by how well they do in the conference tournaments.
Oh, without a doubt.
Is a case in point.
Oh, yeah, and we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about some big games this week. Duke at North Carolina.
That's the biggest game. And Duke, they won this game earlier this year. They have a whole lot to gain by playing this game. They're trying to get a number, I would say, Duke's at a 3 seed right now for the big dance, and I think they would really like to try and get a number 2. Excuse me. That's going to be a really hard task going into Chapel Hill and controlling those guys. North Carolina played really well in their last game against Wake Forest. They shot 55%, and they out-rebounded an aggressive, experienced Wake Forest team by 11 rebounds. I think Carolina's playing well. They look ready.
I think Duke, though, will probably beat them because of what you said about the incentive. They have more incentive. They have to move up. They can't be a lower seed in an NCAA bracket. So I think they have more going for them.
I was thinking about that, and then I thought about the revenge factor here. That was a tough loss for them at Cameron. And I think maybe there may be a little bit of a revenge factor on their mind. And that game means a lot. That's a big game.
Okay, move on to Michigan State at Indiana.
Yeah, that game's going to be in the middle of next week. Indiana's got an off weekend, so they have plenty of time to prepare. Bobby Knight, I don't know still the status of Alan Henderson and when he's going to be back or if he's going to be back. He played Pat Graham a lot last night, gave him a lot of time because that's somebody he's trying to work in. Michigan State, I tell you what, they got a couple of big games coming up, and I really don't think they're going to get in the tournament. I think they're an NIT team. Indiana, they look ready to me also. I think Calvert Chaney and some of the players over there are really playing some of their best basketball. I would like to see them get a little more consistency out of Damon Bailey.
But I don't think they're going to play Henderson until the 64-team field. I think Knight's already said that there's no sense rushing him. But Michigan State, they're an up-and-down team. I think if they beat Michigan, don't they play Michigan this week?
Right.
If they beat Michigan, they'll probably go to the NCAA tournament. That's a huge upset.
Well, that is, and that's going to be actually one hell of a week for those guys. I mean, you're going to play Michigan. That was the next game we were going to talk about. They're going to have to sit there and play.
Wait, but before we go on to the next game, we have a phone call. So, hi, caller, you're on the air. Hi.
The Georgia flag.
Excuse me?
What
Georgia flag? Hello? Are we talking about college basketball? Okay, let's go on to Michigan State and Michigan.
That is a huge week. I mean, how would you like to end the season? Going to Ann Arbor and then going to Bloomington. You're right. I think if Michigan State could grab one of those games, they're in. They might get in as 11 or 12. But I'll be honest with you, I don't see it. Michigan's trying to get a number 1 out west, and I think they will get it now. Arizona lost that game last night to California, and I think that's pretty much going to make them a 2 out west. That's just a tough week. That's the only thing I can say. Judd Heathcote, he's going to be losing more hair. He's bald enough already. He's going to be subscribing to Rogaine. He's going to be going to HRS. He's going to need it.
Next, Kentucky at Florida.
This is a big game for Kentucky because they want to hold on to that number 1 seed in the Southeast, which I think they pretty much have a firm grasp on. Florida, to me, is one of the best kept secrets in basketball. Here it is. This team, earlier in the year, cruised down to Tallahassee and dumped Florida State on their home floor. This is a good club that's played pretty well in the conference. Florida, I have them going into the dance around a number 8 or 9 seed. And they could possibly pick someone off pretty big, although if they get in that same region in the East with North Carolina, no, I don't see that. But that game means a lot to Florida. It's going to be on their campus.
I think Kentucky's just too strong for them, though. Kentucky's just a well-rounded team. They got good coaching. I think Pitino was picked by some as the coach of the year. And I can see them. They beat Florida State because of the interstate rivalry. Right. And I just don't see them beating Kentucky, though. They'll probably drop down to a 10 or 11 seed in the
Another
bracket.
thing for Kentucky is that right now they're at a number 2 seed in the Southeastern Tournament. And one game that you've got to look really closely at coming up also this week is Vanderbilt at South Carolina. And if there's going to be an upset this week, I think it's going to be in Columbia. Vanderbilt's been riding on borrowed time lately. They had an overtime win at Georgia. Then they went to an overtime game at home with Tennessee on ESPN. And they're playing down there at Columbia where those fans are going to be fired up. It's their last home game of the year. It's their swan song for their coach. And that is an athletic team that is very aggressive. When I saw them play against Georgia, their problem was letting Georgia get too many offensive rebounds. Well, I got news for you. South Carolina is more aggressive. They're quicker. South Carolina was much quicker than Georgia when I saw them play at the Coliseum this week. If they can hit any type of percentage of field goals from the field, I'd say around the 45% area, they've got a good chance to win that game.
Well, field goal percentage is how Vanderbilt lives and dies too. You know, Elder and the guy they got from Duke.
Yeah,
If they start hitting, there's no team that's going to stay with them, especially South Carolina. They start hitting from the 3-point line.
Although South Carolina will be using that quickness on defense and probably staying in a 3-2 zone. That game, I'm going to look at that game with a lot of interest. That is going to be a good game, I think.
Okay, next, St. John's at Seton Hall.
This is the biggest game of the year in the Big East that I can think of right now. These are the top-seeded teams in the Big East getting ready for the tournament up there. St. John's overall, I think, is looking at a number 3 seed in the Big Dance, and I think did I say Seton Hall or St. John's?
St. John's.
Seton Hall's looking at number 3. St. John's is floating around a 4 or 5, and usually the champion out of this conference really gets looked on with a lot of respect and prestige in that league, although they're not going to be looked as highly upon this year. But still, that's a big game for these teams jostling for a position in that final tournament coming up.
Well, you know, Seton Hall, I think, has gotten over the big disappointment factor. I think they were picked highly in the beginning of the year. They didn't play well. Now they're coming on. So I think they've gotten over the middle part of the season where everyone was viewing them as a tremendous disappointment. How, like you said, the Big East they got a down year. But they've come on lately. I think they've played good ball. DeHare's a great player, too.
He is a good player, and I remember when PJ had a pretty good team a couple of years ago. He led that team to a championship game against Michigan, and he did it with team defense. They just held teams to a really terrible shooting percentage, and that's how Seton Hall's going to go this year. They're going to make their progress by defense. This is your typical Seton Hall team here.
Okay, well, before we move on to our next topic, we are live, so if anyone wants to call in, our number here is 873-6713, and we appreciate any calls. And let's move on to the Georgia Tech game, and will this loss affect them?
I don't think there's any doubt this loss will really affect Georgia Tech. This team is really back on the bubble now. I can't believe it. They just had huge wins at Wake Forest, a big win at Richmond, and here they are. They come back with disappointing losses at North Carolina State, and now this home game to Florida State.
I think that NC State game cost them more. I mean, Florida State was a 8th, 9th ranked team. They were supposed to win the game. So, I mean, Tech, sure, they needed to win it, but the reason they needed to win was because they'd already blown the NC State game. NC State had no business even being in the game with them, and they let them run them out of the gym.
This Tech team beat Duke at home, so if they can beat Duke at home, I think they can beat Florida State at home. To me, when Tech qualifies now as my 4th psycho ACC team. There was originally 3 now. There was Duke, Wake Forest, and Florida State. Now Georgia Tech just jumped right in there with them, and I don't know what to expect out of them. If you bet on any game with any of those 4 teams in, you've got to be a fool, because I just don't know what to expect out of them.
Well, what about the Bobby Crimmins factor? He's been offered another job, and it could motivate the team. They could play an incredibly good game and a good ACC tournament to try and keep him there.
It might work against him as well. These guys may be getting distracted, and Crimmins may be getting distracted from his work and his coaching and preparation as well. I don't know how this team is thinking right now, but certainly I think that is having some type of an effect, whether it's positive or adverse. I don't know. Right now, I would say it's adverse just because of what we've seen. Although, I tell you what, James Forrest and Malcolm Mackey, especially Mackey, really stepped up their play last night. And Tech, they need consistency. They just need to gain consistency. They made 15 turnovers in that game last night. That's too much for them against a transition team like Florida State. They can't afford that.
Do you think Criminals will go to South Carolina?
That is a really good question. Right now, I would say no. And I tell you why. Georgia Tech's a very good program. I mean, and that's saying a lot because I went to Georgia, and that is a very good program over there. They have something to offer that not too many people can offer. You're in a big-time conference, you're in a major city, and it's warm. Yeah. And you're not going to get that. Show me that somewhere else. Show me. Arizona and the Pac-10, well, they're never on TV out there.
Right.
No, I think he's got a huge recruiting advantage being in Atlanta down here.
Plus the ACC. You play in the ACC, you're automatically, if you're recruited by Georgia Tech, you're going to get national recognition.
I mean, over there in South Carolina, that's a football school. And, I mean, he has a lot of close ties over there. You know, he played over there for Frank McGuire, and that's his alma mater. And I can certainly imagine he's got a lot of close friends over there. But still, he's got to do what's best for Bobby Crimmins. And unless South Carolina just comes out and offers some astronomical amount of money with a long-term contract that gives him a lot of security, he might jump at that. But
even then, I think it'll be like the Bill Curry syndrome. If he jumps ship, he'll wish he never did it.
I just see him staying there. That's
me too.
That's a better program than what they have at South Carolina.
Okay, what will Georgia have to do to get an NIT bid?
Georgia's going to need to win, I think, 2 more games. They have a big game tomorrow at Tennessee, and personally, I think Tennessee's going to win. Tennessee's been playing really well lately. They gave Vanderbilt all they wanted up in Nashville. They beat Kentucky at home. And if they can beat Kentucky at home, I certainly think they can beat Georgia at home. And they beat Arkansas over at Barnhill. I mean, this team was terrible at the beginning of the year, and now they're starting to put it together. This is a dangerous team, and whoever draws them in the SEC tournament is asking for it.
I think one thing Tennessee's done is they switched from a one-man team. They had the All-American Houston, and they just were trying to get him the ball in the beginning of the year. It was like, you can't carry a team. Now they spread the ball around a little more. He's more open. He does a better job.
Looking ahead to the big dance, are there any dark horses?
At first, I thought Louisville would be a dark horse, but now it's too obvious. I think Louisville's going to be a number 5 seed in the tournament. And personally, I think they're going to be in the East, or possibly the Southeast, maybe. That is a hot team. Right now, I would have to say if there's any dark horse, I like Xavier. I remember when Michigan won it all, their toughest game was here in Atlanta in the first round where they had to go in 1 or 2 overtimes against the Musketeers. I like that Xavier team. They do a really good job up there. That's a good program.
We have a phone call. Hi, caller, you're on the air.
Hey, how you doing?
Fine, how are you?
Doing pretty good. I just want to know, when's the first Braves game?
First Braves game.
First Braves game is, I think, April 5th.
I believe it's the 8th.
It's in Chicago.
It's on a Monday. It's a Monday afternoon. It's the same day, I believe, as the NCAA championship.
Okay, I know definitely that the first home game is on the 8th at 2:45, and the first exhibition game is tomorrow down in
Yeah, they
West
play
Palm.
Montreal.
Right.
They're going to go with Maddox tomorrow, I believe. But the Braves' first regular season game is in Chicago on the...
I think it's the 5th. I
Yeah.
think it's that Monday.
Yeah, because they had to book the first lady to throw out the first ball.
Oh, that's right. Miss Hillary.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Let's move on to Dion, and will he be playing full-time?
That's another good question, and that one's really hard to answer. I think right now it's a money contract thing that's being tied up that's holding him right now. There's an issue between $11 million and $12 million. What's the difference? I really can't tell.
$1 million.
Yeah. Thank you. What is it after taxes now?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Let me think.
He's in that new Clinton millionaire bracket. Right?
Yeah.
We have another phone call. Hi, caller. You're on the air. Hi.
I was wondering, do you think the Braves can lose?
Do you think the Braves could lose?
Lose a division or a game or what?
Is it possible for a Major League Baseball team to go undefeated?
No. Impossible.
Impossible.
Too many games.
And not only that, there's too many things that could happen during the regular season. You could have injuries. You could have people going into major slumps. There's just so many things that can happen. I mean, you got 25 guys on a ball team here. I wouldn't want to guess the future of what 25 people are going to do.
Right. What do you think about all the other the people now that are looking towards the Braves and saying, oh, well, they're getting a little bit too cocky?
Well, that was really an interesting thing that came out of Chicago. And the Cubs, of all people, took a real exception to John Smoltz saying, well, basically, if we just go out there and do whatever, we're going to be a 500 team no matter what. And they didn't like that much. But the Braves have, if you go into a 4-game series with the Braves, you could face 4 potential Cy Young Award winners. So I do like the Braves' chances. They're going to have to definitely go out and play. Last year, towards the end of May, I don't know if you remember this, Jay, but they were 20-27.
Right.
And they look like a bad team. I don't know. What do you think?
I think that might help them be better this year. I think what happened was it was the post-series doldrums. They got involved in the season, and they weren't putting forth their best effort. And then about halfway through the season, like you said, they were about 20-27. They put together that 13-game winning streak, and then it was downhill from there. They just coasted in.
It was a lot of fun.
I think this year they'll probably have that in mind when they start the season. They also obviously have a better pitching staff this year, and as far as them being cocky, I don't see how they can be anything but cocky. They have the last 2 Cy Young Award winners, and like Ty said, the other 2 pitchers on the staff, on the starting rotation, they probably could win the Cy Young this year. Plus, they've been to 2 World Series. They've won the National League pennant twice. It's hard not to be cocky. I mean, the Mets in the 80s were cocky, and they only went to 1 World Series, won it, and failed to go back the next year.
Yeah, and then proceeded to make a bunch of stupid trades.
Yeah.
Boy, did they just self-destruct. One thing about the Braves that I think they're going to need to depend on is a veteran leadership, and some of these kids are going to have to grow up and get out of the stage of thinking, well, all we have to do is go throw our gloves out there.
Right. Well, we'll see soon enough. And we have another phone call. Hi, caller. You're on the air.
Yes. I was wondering if I could get y'all's opinion on how deep the Braves' farm system is, and I'd also just like to have a special hi to my girlfriend here, Jenny. Needs to get better. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Get better. Hope you feel better soon.
Thanks for the call.
But as far as the depth of the Braves farm system, they obviously have one of the best farm systems in all of baseball. They've got guys that probably could play at the major league level on any other team, but they can't crack that lineup because the Braves are loaded at the major league level and at the AAA level.
Right, there's Javier Lopez, who's a great catcher, and that's a player they protected. They protected Ryan Klesko, the big left-handed hitting first baseman, who had a field day against Georgia Tech in an exhibition baseball game.
And Caballero, that second baseman, they protected him too.
Carabello.
Yeah, Carabello.
And then there's Tarasco, an outfielder. Melvin Nieves, they Chipper Jones, a shortstop who might be a third baseman.
Okay, we have another phone call. Hi, caller. You're on the air.
Hello, how are you doing?
Okay, how are you?
I'm all right. I'd like to say, first of all, I'd like to thank Mr. Steve Marcos. He sent me some tickets last week.
Oh, great.
But getting with the Braves, I think the Braves are going to win this year. I think they're going to have a harder time winning with the Barry Bonds and with the Reds and all the other teams. Going to be knocking on the door. But I want to switch the pace a little bit. I want to ask a question to the gentleman about boxing and the future of Iron Mike Tyson, what they feel his future would be if he does make it out of prison.
I think you'll see him fight.
Thank you for your call.
I think you'll see him fight just as soon as he can.
You think he's ready?
Yeah. Well, I mean, no, he'll have to have a training period, but they'll have some warm-up fights for him, and then he'll contend for the title. I think he's young enough, and he may be out this year? Didn't he get a new trial?
Right.
He got a new trial, didn't he?
Right.
Without commenting on the legality of it.
Right. I don't want to get into that because I'm not a lawyer here. But,
right.
But if he does get out because of the system, oh yeah, there is just globs, just millions of dollars of hard cash just waiting for that and waiting to see him. I mean, Mike Tyson now, the guy coming out of jail. What a promotion for some of these guys to pull off. And yeah, I could see him going out. I could see him getting a fight with maybe that's Lewis or Riddick Bowe. Those two may be fighting each. Those two are just going to probably try and get Tyson first.
What they'll do is by avoiding each other, they'll have to fight Tyson.
Right, and as we wait for Mike, we're going to go now to some tape from the Metro Atlanta Street Hockey Association, and we'll be back with our special guest, Brian Higgins. Okay, that was some action from the Metro Atlanta Street Hockey Association, and we're here with Brian Higgins. How you doing?
All right, how you doing?
Great. I understand the playoffs are this week?
Yeah, at Wade Walker Park, Metro Atlanta Street Hockey Association is having their annual playoffs, and it's down to the semifinal round. I think Brian is in a semifinal game as well as myself.
Yeah, the Magic's still in there.
So are you on the same team, or are you?
No, we're in. Actually, it's
Ah.
one of the most exciting amateur sports. If anybody wants to come out and watch, I've been involved and a spectator of several different amateur sports, and this is tremendously exciting because the
Dion move.
the divisions are set up according to the level of play. So you have Division I players that are like professional street hockey players, and then you have Division II, which are pretty good, and then the Division III for beginners. And each division has their own playoffs, so it keeps it exciting.
Okay, let's start things off. Let's talk a little bit about roller hockey. I haven't even tried on a pair of rollerblades, so let's start at the beginning. How did you get involved?
Well, it's taking off and people are skating everywhere. And then at our rink, there was some guys coming from like an hour away just to be able to play at our rink. We just like playing hockey, so we figured we'd get a pair, and we started playing and whooping up on them. And from there, we found out about a lot of tournaments going on everywhere, and we're going to Florida at the end of the month to play in one. And we played in 3. We've won 2 of them, and we lost in the finals in the other one. And
Are there teams from all over, or just in the southeast, or just the eastern half, or?
it's really big in Florida. A team from Tallahassee came up and won the tournament and beat us in the finals. And then as far as Georgia, it's spread out, but it's really big in Florida, and California is really huge.
Isn't that where it started in California as far as the inline skating?
I think so.
Now,
Took after skateboarding.
Now, I've never done this before, and if a person like myself was interested in this, how would someone prepare themselves for playing hockey on rollerblades?
You go to the local sport goods store and buy every piece of equipment you
Get
can.
a lot of money.
Yeah.
Now
But
you
would a
started.
person, would you recommend they just skate a lot and just learn how to be able to stay on their feet? Is that the thing, just keep going miles and miles and learning how to skate? Is that the most important thing here?
Well, skating is obviously going to be important. I'm not very great at it, but I'm good at the hockey part of it, I think. And that helps. I mean, there's guys out there in the tournaments we went to that actually skate better than we do, but we're a better hockey team. So, you need to start out and learn to skate, and then once you play in a game, it's going to be a different type of skating anyway, because you got to dodge people, and you're not going to do that through Piedmont Park. So,
Did you start with ice hockey?
yeah, I play that too.
So,
Try to.
what's the difference between roller skating hockey and ice skating hockey?
Well, ice skating, it's like you got to dig in the ice, whereas rollerblades, it's
More of a gliding action?
Yeah, more of a gliding action. And you can't stop on rollerblades. And the first time I played rollerblade hockey, we were in Long Island, New York, just looking at rinks because we were up there on vacation. A guy opened up a trunk and had a bunch of skates. He said, "Y'all want to play?" I about fell 100 times because I kept thinking I was on ice hockey skates. And you learn.
Where can you play here in Atlanta?
Roller hockey, there's a league forming in Doraville, and then there's another league forming up in Cumming, Forsyth, Georgia County. And other than that, we just find out about tournaments. It's really picking up, though. It's going to get big. It's really going to get big.
Where do you play right now?
We just go to tournaments pretty much.
Tournaments. How do you find out about? I mean, do you have you're in an organization?
Just word of mouth, pretty
Word of
much.
mouth.
They put flyers up at the ice hockey rinks, or come by the street hockey rink and let people know. And there's a street hockey magazine out now
Oh, there is.
that lets you in on all that stuff.
Okay. What position do you play?
Left wing or
Left wing.
defense. No goalie.
No goalie. All right.
Do the goalies have to wear skates also in this?
One tournament they didn't. Other ones they had to wear them. And fortunately, our goalie grew up on roller skates, so he can wear roller skates. You can wear either or.
Which game do you think is faster? Because ice hockey, I mean, just watching the Flames here, the Knights play, it's a very aggressive and a fast game, but I've never seen it played on rollerblades. Do you think it's as fast?
No, not near as fast.
Not nearly as fast?
In fact, street hockey is probably faster than rollerblade hockey. Street hockey, to me, is still the best sport. Rollerblade is more of a hobby.
Okay. Well, we have a phone call. Hi, caller. You're on the air.
Hey, I was just calling. If I was wanting to get started, how would I get started in the league, and who is the best player in the league?
Okay.
What league? Roller hockey or street hockey? Oh, I guess
Roller
we lost
hockey.
him.
I pretty much covered how to get started in it. It's pretty hard. I mean, you just got to word of mouth right now, and there's talk to your roller skating rinks, and they'll know where they're letting them play because nowhere around here is letting people play. We got to go up to Forsyth County and play in their roller skating rink or go to tournaments. Best player in the league, that's hard to say. I mean, there's you got your Frakers and Spivies and
Well, if you want to get involved in the street hockey league, there's a sign-up sheet at the rink, Wade Walker Park, during the playoffs. There's an open draft, and you can sign up there.
Okay. Well, I would like to thank you, Brian, for coming on, and Ty and Jay. And meet us here 8:30 next Friday. We'll be here, and hopefully you will too. Thanks a lot.